hear you absolutely fine. So just to let you know, we're all here and accounted for. I'm going to start the meeting at 7 on the dot, so in 2 minutes' time. But just I'll ask at that stage for you to confirm the live stream has started and then we'll begin. So to 90 seconds-ish. Perfect. Good evening, Susie. So I make that 7 o'clock. So if you could just let me know when we're live streaming, I will start the meeting. Excellent. Well, good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Vale of Whitehorse Oxfordshire District Council's Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Max Thompson and I'll be chairing this meeting. This meeting is being held in person at our office in Abbey House, Abingdon. Voting members are all here in person as required, but officers and public speakers are able to join remotely if they wish through Microsoft Teams. The meeting is also being streamed live and recorded on the Council's YouTube channel for public viewing. 3 procedural matters. Firstly, for those joining remotely, when you're not speaking, please ensure your microphone is muted and your camera is off. Public speakers must only have their cameras on and be unmuted when addressing the committee or answering questions of clarification in their designated slots. Point 2, if councillors wish to ask a question or participate in the debate, please raise your hand and I'll call on you in turn. Thirdly, as a modern council, both officers and members will be using their electronic devices throughout the meeting. For housekeeping announcements, so firstly, evacuation procedure. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate the building at the nearest exit, which is in the corridor immediately to your right, and stand by assembly point 9 in the outside area beyond the fire exit. The Democratic Services Officer will assist you. On arriving at the meeting, you should have read the emergency evacuation procedure and signed your fire register, so please inform Democratic Services if you have not done so. Point 2, please mobile phones off or silent. Point 3, members of the public who wish to leave the meeting after the application they're interested in has been debated, you're very welcome to do so. You can do so via the front door and reception, but I please ask you to leave quietly. And fourth, when the meeting has ended, I'll ask for confirmation the live stream has ended. At that point, please leave the virtual meeting if you're joining remotely, or make your way out of the building, remembering to sign out as you leave. And just a final point from me, this is a meeting in public, not a public meeting, and I ask that members of the public, both those attending here in person and those attending virtually, ensure they do not shout out or disrupt the committee's deliberations outside of those who've registered to speak in their allocated slots. You do great. So I now move on to item 2, which is apologies for absence. Lucy, do we have any apologies this evening?
Yes, Chair, we do. We have apologies from councillors Cheryl Bridge and Jenny Pannaby, who are being substituted for by councillors Sarah James and Paul Barrow. And we also have apologies from councillor Val Shaw.
Thank you so much. And would you mind taking a roll call of the room?
Of course. Councillor Max Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Councillor Ron Batstone.
Yes, here.
Councillor Scott Horton.
Here.
Councillor Robert Madison.
Here.
Councillor Mike Piggill.
Here.
Councillor Jill Rayner. Here. Councillor Paul Barrow.
Here.
Councillor Sarah James.
Here.
Thank you so much. I now turn to the minutes of the agenda from the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of July 2025. Has anyone got any comments on those, or can I accept them as a correct record? If so, can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Wilson. I propose that we accept them as a correct record. Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Batstone. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. And of course, abstaining as you weren't here at the meeting. Thank you. So I will sign those at the end of the meeting. Agenda item 4 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations this evening? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. On item 8, I live directly opposite the location of the application, so I won't be taking part in that item.
Thank you so much. I now turn to agenda item 5, urgent business. Paula, do we have any urgent business this evening?
There are no urgent matters, thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. And then finally, public participation. We do have a few speakers on the 2 items we're going to be considering first this evening. In addition, we did receive a number of statements on the Fullersfield item, which have been circulated to the committee and have been read, and we may make reference to in our debate or indeed our questioning. So with that, I turn to agenda item 7, which is Fullersfield. And Sally, I believe you're presenting on this one.
Lovely, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Before I start, just want to give a few verbal updates. First one is an error in the report at paragraph 7.89 relating to financial contributions. Whilst detailed costings are still to be confirmed, the compact athletics track contribution is expected to be in the region of £215,505 and not £215 as stated. I have also received 9 additional letters of representation since the report was published. The concerns raised relate to the need for housing, access and highway safety, loss of hedgerows and biodiversity, flooding and drainage, construction traffic and management company fees. There are no new issues raised and these have all been addressed in my report. Nevertheless, I've also sought additional advice from the Council's senior flood risk engineer in relation to the concerns raised in relation to the risk of flooding in Grove and the Cannies. He advised the following. As part of the Crab Hill development, advanced infrastructure works were designed by Atkins in 2021. This included the large basins which serve the Crab Hill development. Although this particular application site was not included in the permission for up to 1,500 homes granted under the Crab Hill application, the advanced infrastructure works made allowance within the design should any future application be forthcoming on this site. The wider drainage infrastructure has therefore already been designed and installed and has capacity to accommodate flows from this site, and therefore there's no increase in the risk of flooding to Grove and the Hannies as a result of this development.
Proceeded my...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. So to begin, so this is an outline application for up to 59 dwellings within Wantage, with all matters reserved except for access into the site. The site is approximately 2.65 hectares and is bound by development on the Crab Hill site to the east and north, and existing residential dwellings in Charlton Village Road and Parsonage Close to the south, and there's a public right-of-way to the west. Public footpath also crosses the site on a northwest to southeast alignment and through the site, and there's a water main also running through part of the site as well. There's several mature trees and hedging along the boundaries. The Charlton Conservation Area is approximately 60 metres to the south, which also includes 3 Grade 2 listed buildings. Is that better? Yes, that's fine. So this is the site application site is allocated for development in the adopted local plan part 1. The proposed development will be in addition to the consented mixed-use development at Crab Hill, which on completion will deliver 1,534 dwellings. So the proposed proposal seeks outline consent for up to 59 dwellings, and this is an up to figure and will depend on the detailed reserve matters stage. With the residential development already consented, plus the proposed 59 dwellings, the Crab Hill allocation would therefore deliver up to 1,594 dwellings. There is a presumption in favour of sustainable development, and local and national policy expects allocated sites to make optimal use to achieve efficient use of land. Officer therefore of the view that the principle of development is acceptable unless material considerations indicate otherwise. This is a plan taken from the design and access statement which just highlights the site's opportunities and constraints. Just to highlight really that you've got the public right of way going through the centre of the site there diagonally, and also the position of the existing water main alignment along here. And you can also see here, obviously, you've got the public right of way along the western side of the site as well, with the controlled trees and vegetation that have some offsetting in terms of from the development, and the existing trees and hedgerows along the other boundaries of the site as well. So these opportunities and constraints inform the parameter plans, which I'll just run through for you now. So this is the land use parameter plan, which shows the areas for residential use, the open space, and the pedestrian vehicle routes and the location of the play area in the northwest corner of the site, which is just over here. This is the heights parameter plan, which establishes the maximum height of dwellings to be between 2 stories at 9 metres and up to 2.5 stories at 11 metres in height. The 2.5 story dwellings to be located at the northern end of the site, gradually going down to the lower 2 story at the southern end of the site here. This is the density parameter plan that kind of closely follows the heights parameter plan really. So you've got the density of the proposal is calculated at around 44 dwellings per hectare. The density parameter plan demonstrates that the lower densities will be provided at the southern part of the site at around 32.5 dwellings per hectare, and this gradually increases to the north, the development fronting onto the Rutherford Road to be 55 dwellings per hectare. This is comparable to the surrounding development on the density parameter plan for the wider Crab Hill development. So this is the access and movement parameter plan, which shows the proposed vehicle access into the site at the southeast corner of Primrose Avenue here. This also shows the pedestrian routes through the site, including the realignment of the footpath through the site here and coming out into this corner up here, and also the other pedestrian access points in the corners here, here and here, and also proposed ones going into Primrose Avenue and Rutherford Road as well. This is the blue and green infrastructure parameter plan, which shows the open space throughout the site and the including the play area in the northwest corner, and also the location of sub features through this kind of green corridor through the centre of the site here, alongside the realignment of the public footpath. And then coming now to the illustrative master plan, which demonstrates the ability for the site to accommodate quantum of development proposed with sufficient land set aside without compromising the layout and design quality of dwellings, amenity and parking provision. Parameter plans are considered acceptable to inform the delivery of development at reserve matters stage. At the detail stage, it would be expected that the site is designed closely aligned with the design principles as set out in the Crab Hill design guidance, and this is to be secured by way of a condition. This is the detailed access into the site. So it's on the corner here off of Primrose Avenue, which has been assessed by the Highways Authority, which consider it to be acceptable in terms of highway safety, with the proposed visibility, pedestrian visibility displays and the vehicle visibility sprays considered to be acceptable. I'll now just run through some photos of the site. So this is where the site access is to be in the southeast corner, on the corner here of Primrose Avenue. And then this is taken from the access looking southeast along Primrose Avenue. And this is here stood at the access point looking north along Primrose Avenue. You can see the existing Crab Hill development on the right-hand side and the primary school just in the distance there. And then this is looking at the other end of the corner, looking back down Primrose Avenue with the site access in that corner here. And this is on the corner of Rutherford Avenue with Primrose Avenue down here. Not quite sure what's happened to that quality of that photo, but this is taken from that northwest corner looking east along Rutherford Avenue. So again, you've got the site is here with the existing Crab Hill development along this side here. And then this is taken from the northwest corner of site looking back down Rutherford Avenue. Again, you've got the site here on the right hand side and the existing Crab Hill development there in the background. This is the northwest corner looking down the public right of way. So you can see it's partially been upgraded and then it goes into the public right of way down to Charlton Village Road. And then this is looking from Charlton Village Road back down to the public right of way. So the site is in this corner here. And there is an existing kind of field gate, although quite overgrown at the moment, which is where the pedestrian access point will be. Looking within the site now, so again, we're back at the southeast corner where the access will be, looking along the southern boundary here and the eastern boundary up here. And as you can see, the footpath through the site diagonally to the corner over there. This is from the centre of the site looking back towards the site access point over here. And then looking looking towards the northeast corner here. So that's Primrose Avenue, those dwellings on here, and that's the primary school in the corner over there. And this is from the centre of the site looking north. So this is actually the gap in the hedgerow. You can see construction on the other side of the road that's ongoing there. And then we're back in the centre of the site looking northwest where the footpath will join the public right-of-way in that corner here. And that's the public right-of-way that goes on down the site here. And then looking across to the site to the western boundary here. And now from the northwest corner looking towards the east and southern boundaries. So again, you've got Primrose Avenue down here and existing development there. And then you're coming up to Charlton Village Road and the dwellings along here. And again, you can see the footpath diagonally through the site. And again, just looking more closely at those dwellings along Primrose Avenue, and particularly along Charlton Village Road along here. So in conclusion, the application site is part of the Crab Hill site allocation and will provide up to 59 dwellings, including 35% affordable housing. The application is to outline consent with all matters reserved except for access into the site. The Highways Authority have raised no objection to the proposed site access, and therefore this is considered acceptable. The parameter plans and illustrative master plan demonstrate the ability for the site to accommodate the quantum of development proposed with sufficient open space, sub-features, landscaping without impacting on residential amenity. There are no technical objections to the application, including in relation to biodiversity, trees, drainage, flooding and residential amenity. And therefore, in conclusion, subject to the recommended conditions set out in Appendix 4 and completion of a Section 106 lead agreement, the proposal is considered for the development plan and is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Sally. I'm sure we'll return to you for some questions once we've heard from our speaker on this application. We have one speaker on this application, and that's Nikki Brock, who is here in person speaking in support. Please. Yeah, please just sit there. Sorry. Good evening. Anyway, good evening. Thank you for joining us. You will have 3 minutes when you're ready, and then after that 3 minutes, there may be some questions and clarification for you from members of the committee. But thank you for joining us, and please, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. As you're aware, the law requires that planning applications are determined in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. The proposed development of up to 59 dwellings is one which is fully policy compliant and therefore in accordance with the development plan. It fully complies with the NPPF in that it is sustainable development. Complies with the LIV plan. As you've heard from your case officer, the site is part of the allocated Crab Hill site for around 1,500 dwellings. Finally, it also complies with the Wantage Neighbourhood Plan in that it provides sufficient amenity open space and seeks to retain existing on-site mature trees and hedges, as well as respecting the green infrastructure network. The site will provide the 35% affordable housing as required by the local plan and will contribute towards various infrastructure requirements, including cycle routes and other active travel, off-site public rights of way, the provision or contribution to both on and off-site open space and sports facilities, including the new town athletics track, contribution to the new community building at Crab Hill and to healthcare in the area, to mention just a few. The full list is set out in the committee report. The site will also deliver the required 10% biodiversity net gain. The suggestion by local residents that this part of the Crab Hill site coming forward separate to the wider Crab Hill site means that it does not contribute to the infrastructure. This is inaccurate and unfounded. The scheme is submitted an outline, but a lot of work has gone into preparing an illustrative layout that shows how the 59 dwellings can be accommodated on site, whilst meeting all of the various technical requirements in terms of highway, drainage, urban design, trees, ecology, and a policy compliant mix of market and affordable housing. The exact details of how the site will be laid out will be subject to a reserved matters application, but in compliance with the parameter plans that you've seen today, and that will be approved as part of this application, which are all based on the illustrative layout. There are no statutory objections to this application, with the exception of the parish town council, and the case officer's very comprehensive report recommends approval on the basis that the scheme is policy compliant. As such, I believe there are no reasons why this application should not be approved this evening. Disappointing to the town council aren't here to present their concerns to you, the very reason why you all sat here tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you on behalf of the applicants.
Excellent. Sorry, you finished. Thank you very much for your time. There may be some questions of clarification for you. Councillor Madison.
Thanks, Chair. I had a question about the access to the site. The main access is off Primrose Avenue on a bend. I was just wondering why that spot was chosen and not the straight part of the road.
A combination of factors, but primarily due to trying to protect as much of the hedgerow along that boundary as possible. It is on it's on the inside of the bend, for visibility in both directions is fully policy compliant, and that's why there's no highways objection to it.
Any further questions? Councillor Matson.
Yes, I was interested looking at the plan. It looked to me as though it would be better to have access from Rutherford Road rather than from Primrose Avenue. I'm surprised. Why did you choose Primrose Avenue?
Well, we have had a previous application that had it from Rutherford Avenue, and there were concerns about the loss and impact on the hedgerow in that location. But there's also a lot of highway infrastructure at that point with crossings and various other infrastructure that just makes it a little bit too busy in that position. So having consulted with your officers on numerous occasions, we resolved to push ahead with an application for the access in the final location now, which we think works better. It's less constrained, still achieves the visibility and results in less hedgerow loss.
Thank you.
Any further questions? So thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I will now. I do not believe we have any other speakers in this application, so I will now turn to any questions that councillors may have for Sally Officer. Are there any questions? Councillor Barrett.
I'm always concerned about, with as a development, about foul water discharge and surface water as well. And I guess mainly because I know we had recently had an approval for the new pumping station connected with the expansion of Grove Business Park. And although they had their own filter bed, they didn't expand the filter bed. They just requested for it to be discharged into the main sewage, which concerned me because Grove Bit treatment works already discharges regularly into Leckton Brook. There's quite a concern or something. And I mean, I guess so. The recommendation is for approval conditional on trial water network capacity, and it would be I guess it would be nice to know that that's approved, that's sorted out before we go through the approval process. Is there no way we can get that before we say yes or no?
I think is that a question to our officer. So which condition are we? Sorry, I probably should allow the question to be answered by our officer rather than coming in as not at this stage.
Could you just put the direction of the condition you're referring to?
So it's on page 17. There's the 10 second consultation. No objections, subject conditions, informative. conditions foul water network capacity, and also the groundwater risk management permit surface water network capacity. And I guess that's my concern. I mean, it's, you know, compared with the size, the existing size of the development, it's relatively small, but nevertheless, it all contributes to volume of water going through these treatment work.
So these were comments that were provided by Thames Water. So they have no objection subject to those conditions being imposed. So there's no reason for me to ask for further.
Yeah, I mean,
the application on that basis.
Does that mean they've already done the capacity calculation?
Not necessarily. So those conditions are
I mean,
set
I
out.
to know how they can say no objection without knowing whether the capacity is sufficient.
So we're asking on condition 17, we're asking details for surface drainage water. Condition 18 is for a foul drainage scheme.
They both say prior to commencement of development, I think. I don't know if that answers the question. So both 17 and 18.
Yes, prior to commencement.
Stuart, would you like to comment?
Yeah, the site's allocated in the local plan, which accounts for the development as well, in terms of when Thames Water look at their network at the time of a local plan, they are consulted when sites get allocated to ensure the wider network can accommodate the planned growth of our local plan. Sally mentioned at the beginning of the presentation about the drainage engineer has looked at the capacity of the foul drainage and the surface water drainage on the site, and there is capacity within the network to accommodate those flows. So that's why Thames Water are not objecting to the application.
Okay, so that's for they've already done that for the whole of the development, I guess, too.
Yes, yeah. So that was looked at when we were dealing with the original 1,500 dwellings in Thames Water, when then looking at the network improvements. This extra 59 would not add any additional drainage to the level that would require further improvements. So officers are satisfied at the moment that the foul drainage network is acceptable to accommodate the new dwellings.
I mean, I know they're saying that the treatment plant will be expanded in the next 5 years, but I'm still concerned. Okay, thank you.
So are there any further questions, please? That's all.
It's again relating to one of the comments from Thames Water. It's one of the informatives. They say there's an informative regarding water pressure. I'm struggling to find mention of it anywhere. I was wondering if you could clarify what that was about.
So I don't think we've included the informatives on the conditions list, but there will be informatives based on that are worded as per Thames Water's comments. To see if I can.
Got a consultation response here if you'd like it, Sam.
Sorry, I'm afraid we at this stage we just take questions from officers.
So we'll have a number of informatives on the decision, but the ones you're referring to in terms of Thames Water, it is relating to public sewers, so in terms of crossing over those within 3 metres. There'll be another one for groundwater risk management permit to be required from Thames Water as well. And then discharging into the public sewer, prior approval will be needed from Thames Water, and also regarding the minimum pressure, that will be required. They're all informative because they are separate legislation, essentially.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for us?
Just one moment. The public right of way through the site, obviously there'll be a construction phase when that won't be available or safe. Is there a temporary measure supposed to be in place?
So again, we'll be putting on informatives regarding the kind of the right of way during the construction, and any kind of mitigation, improvement and protection of it during temporary obstructions and damage through the once the site is constructed. So there again, they will be covered by informatives, because that's separate legislation. They'll need separate consent from OCC to kind of do any works in relation to that public right of way.
Thank you. Any further questions, or shall we move into debate on this item? I can't see any questions, so I'm going to thank our officers and suggest we move into debate on this matter. So to do so, can I please have a motion on this application? Councillor Pickles.
I propose that we accept this proposal. It seems to, well, it's obviously part of accepted wider development plan, and there's no material objections from the technical areas. So I propose we accept it.
Do I have a second to that motion? Councillor Madison. Okay, thank you very much. I open up the floor to debate. Would anyone like to say anything on this application? Please, Councillor Madison.
Yes, I think I'm happy with the drainage engineer's response, and I was quite pleased that we got this in public, that it will not affect the increased flooding risk in Hanny and Grove, because this has been a problem. It's been perceived to be a problem in the past, that the flow from the Kingsgrove side increased the possibility of flooding downstream. But I think I'm happy with what the officers have suggested today. So I will be in support of this application.
Thank you. Anything further on this? Yeah, I think just similarly, I just add that I similarly, I'm glad to see the drainage engineer's response. I'm also glad to see, again, in paragraph 7.31, you know, this is up to 59 dwellings. So it may well be the case when reserves matters comes through, though our officers are confident about the capacity of the site, that actually it could be for fewer dwellings if it doesn't meet all of the specifications of the various local plans, etc. So, but I agree, there's no technical objections on this site, so I will be supporting it. Anything further? In which I'm suggesting we take a vote on this application. So, all those in favour of the motion? Those against? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. So, thank you very much to our officers this evening. Thank you very much to our speakers. I'm now going to move on to our next item, which is at the Botany Centre West Way. Nat, I believe you're presenting this one. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So this application is referred to Planning Committee at the request of the local member, Councillor Emily Smith. The application site is Westway Square in Botley. Westway Square is a mixed-use development with commercial units on the ground floor with flats and student accommodation on the upper floors. This application specifically relates to Church Way, a street which runs through the development, shown in red on the plan being shown. The application proposes retractable bollards at either end of the road to stop vehicles using Church Way between 10 AM and 4 PM when vehicles are prohibited from using the road, and internal bollards to deter car parking, which is prohibited at all times. Double yellow lines and additional signage is also proposed. So by way of background, this is an approved plan for the original development of Botley Westway Square. And it's not very clear, but number 2 is this specific area that relates to the application before you tonight, and it's described as a community crossing. And this is a more detailed plan, which again was a part of the approved suite of plans, which describes the area as the community square. But as you can see, it does actually include cars within that area, I think indicating that it was always intended that there was some form of car use of the road. So there were several conditions in the original permission which sought to control the use of Church Way. So the first was a requirement to submit a servicing and delivery management plan. The second were details of CCTV and ANPR cameras, and then a further condition regarding parking management strategy for the whole site. And these conditions have all been details submitted in under these conditions have all been approved. So technical note 16, which was submitted with the planning application, but then subsequently approved as part of the servicing and delivery plan, is where the restriction on use of Churchway is outlined. So this states that it will be closed between 10 and 4, and that this will be enforced using ANPR, or automatic number plate recognition, so cameras essentially. And then technical note 2 was submitted, and that's the parking management strategy, and that is where the enforcement is outlined, and that's by a company called Smart Parking Limited, and it states that they will be the ones responsible for issuing tickets, etc. And then the technical note 13 was the delivery and servicing management plan. And this again referred to the use of ANPR to control the use of the internal roads within the site, and also about the routes that deliveries can take and the timing of deliveries, such that deliveries are generally made outside of 10 till 6. And the routes are shown, but I think it's not that clear, so I've got the full plan. So you can see that Churchway is an approved route for servicing. So outside of the 10 to 4 restriction, it is permissible for vehicles to use Churchway to service the units within development. And the central part of the site can also be used as part of the approved scheme with prior agreement. So this application is essentially it's come about because the existing restrictions do not appear to have been effective in terms of preventing cars from using Churchway during the prohibited hours, and in preventing car parking. So this was my site visit. This was at, I think, just after 3, and a car clearly ignoring the restrictions. And hence a physical barrier to prevent this is now proposed. So this is the southern end of Churchway, where barriers will be placed, retractable barriers across the road. And this is the northern end towards Westway, where another set will be proposed across the road. And then within the site, further bollards are proposed on either side of the carriageway to prevent cars mounting the curb and parking. And this is looking through the centre of the site, and that has to be kept clear, both for emergency service vehicles and occasional delivery vehicles. So, and then the loading bay, which is, there was obviously a person there or something, but the blue square is where there is an approved loading bay. There are several bollards around that, again, to prevent people mounting the curb. And obviously this shows that the signage does show that it is supposed to be, that's the hours in which the road isn't supposed to be used. But as you can see, this sign appears to have been hit by a car. And at the time of my visit, this lighting common had just been reinstalled after it had been hit by a car. So clearly the existing management enforcement, hasn't been effective, and hence this application seeks to have a more physical means of preventing vehicles. So this is the plan, which shows the position of the bollards. So that in blue is the collapsible or retractable bollards, which obviously outside of when vehicles are allowed to use this, they can be put down so that the road can still be used. And then when vehicles aren't, they'll be put in place to prevent vehicles. And then the blue, the purple dots are where the other fixed bollards will be placed. So officers consider that the proposed development does achieve the aim of preventing cars from using Churchway in the prohibited hours and deterring car parking without harm to highway safety and visual amenity, and that the prevention of cars using Churchway is considered to enhance the experience of the area and reduce the current dominance of vehicles. Therefore, subject to the recommended conditions, officers recommend that permission is granted.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nate. Now we'll return to you some questions once we've heard from our speakers on this application. So our first speaker is Lorna Berrett, who is a representative of Botley and North Kingsley Parish Council. Ms. Berrett, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I can now see you. You're very welcome. And as with everyone else, you'll have 3 minutes when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so on behalf of Botley North Kingsley Parish Council, I wanted to say that the Parish Council fully supports the pedestrianisation of Churchway. However, we do have some comments. First of all, I want to make it clear that it's crucial to get bollards in place at the north and south ends. It's currently, as you saw, being used as a cut through at all times of day and night. The random parking along the road and curbs, whilst delivery lorries are coming and trying to do their deliveries, pedestrians are passing through on the school run, especially, makes it a very dangerous area. I've witnessed numerous incidents, a fire engine not being able to get through because things were blocking the parking bay. And you might see in the photo, there's a pavement cafe with tables outside. Cars just go very close to those tables now at all times of the day. We know that Mace have recently put some more signage in, but it's still being ignored. And one of those signs was knocked over again, a different one than you saw 48 hours after installation. At least 2 trees, 1 lamppost, and other signs have been damaged. The AMPR does not have any effect on people using that as a car park and a drive-through. The Parish Council has been working with Mace to bring forward these changes, so we're really pleased this has come forward now, but we do think it could be better and improved with some conditions if possible. The area, as you saw, was in the shopping centre. It's really the community hub, the community end. On one side is the community hall, which has about 25 different user groups. It's used day and night. Above that is the library. Next to it is the church. And on the other side, we have the independent cafe with the tables outside. We used to have a farmers market there during lockdown that was very popular. And we had a community event for the Jubilee in 2022 in that area. So we believe that the closing off of either end is great, but pavement bollards and double yellow lines would really make this look more like a road rather than a community area. We think the bollards would obstruct a potential farmers market as well, and just generally would obstruct the function of it as a community space. Mace is keen to develop those community aspects. They're also looking for more farmers markets. They came and told us that at our parish council in June, and their own website promotes the farmers market. It uses photos from the farmers market showing it busy during that time. We'd like to see a couple of conditions if possible. I'd really like to see extension of the hours of pedestrianisation, 24/7 ideally, but 7 till 7 or 8 till 6 to avoid the school run would be great. And then secondly, if those collapsible bollards are installed as a priority, that's our main focus. But if we could have maybe the yellow lines and the pavement bollards as optional or a later phase to see how the site develops and how those original bollards help, that will be a good outcome for us, I think. We really want that shopping and community centre to be lively and busy, to provide that town square sort of feel. And ultimately, we need it to be a safe place, which it's not at the moment. Excellent. So those are my main points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There may be some questions of clarification for you from the committee, so I'll just have a look around and see. Councillor Pickles.
So just so we're absolutely clear, if the retractable bollards are your priority, and I assume the bollards at the end, the fixed bollards at the entry and exit are your priority.
Yes.
And you'd like to see a phasing so that the WL lines and the pavement bollards come at a later date, depending on how things go with the retractable bollards. Is that correct?
If that's possible, yes. We're not keen on the pavement bollards and the double yellow lines because we think it makes the yellow lines make it look like a road. The pavement bollards obstruct things for Along the loading bay, I see no reason for paving bollards. People just park in the loading bay. They don't need to park on the curb there. So there's some that are in unusual places that they're not really needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barrow.
John, I mean, have a look at this. Can you remind me what the proposed time exclusion is? Is it 10 till 4?
That's
So you're suggesting it might be extended from, what are you suggesting?
I would love it for 24/7, but if not, 8 till 6 or 7 till 7. It's a popular cut through for the school run, and that's a busy time in the morning. You know, that's when there are deliveries to the supermarkets, people parking to pop into Tesco, people walking through with small children. You know, any time between 8 and 9, that's a really busy time there.
I presume, is the library used in the evening at all? You know,
The library's open one late night a week. I can't remember which night. I think Friday night it's open late. It's open not on Wednesday, and it's open Saturday morning. So it's I think it's open 4.5 days and one late night on a Friday till 7, I think. And then the music hall is open all the time.
Do you know when most of the deliveries take place?
They should be outside those hours. When we have our parish council meeting, there's often a Tesco delivery around 7:30 in the evening, which is using that loading bay.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? In which case, thank you very much for your time this evening. I'll move on to our next speakers, who are the ward councillors for the area. So we've got Councillor Smith and Councillor Potter. I believe you're both here. Is that right? Excellent. So I believe you're planning on sharing your time. You have 3 minutes to share between you. I assume you've coordinated and don't need us to wave when you're in a minute and a half. Okay, excellent, very good. You're very welcome. Please, when you're ready.
Thank you. Churchway is a street at the heart of Botley. For over 2 years, parish, district and county councillors have been asking for the applicant to make Churchway safe for pedestrians. A local petition also called for stronger action. We welcome recognition from Mace that the current pedestrian zone is not working and that the physical barrier is now proposed. I would like to raise 2 matters. The first is the issue of the hours of vehicle access. Local residents have requested that this street is fully pedestrianised 24/7. The officers note that the 10 to 4 restriction is already approved and that it would be not reasonable to require the applicant to close Churchway permanently and deliveries could be impacted. However, I think it would be reasonable to extend the period of closure to vehicles to include the morning school run. Churchway is a key route for 3 schools and a nursery, and the vehicles are using Churchway at the height of the school run when the street is its most dangerous. This approach would still provide sufficient flexibility for deliveries. The second is the need for an access management plan for the bollards. Officers have rightly noted the lack of detail in this critical area. The bollards are likely to become a main indicator to drivers as to whether the road is open. Therefore, failure to raise the bollards for any reason, such as illness, could lead to a highly dangerous situation where pedestrians rightly believe the area is safe and drivers incorrectly believe they can drive. This issue is exacerbated by the continued poor quality and poor maintenance of signage. The access management plan is vital.
So I'll try not to repeat things that Councillor Barrett has already said about the space and how important it is for the community. We completely support the bollards at either end. It's the bit in the middle. If it looks and feels like a road, people will treat it like a road. If it looks and feels like a community space with people having coffee and kids playing and community events, people will drive through there even at the hours it's open more cautiously. I also kind of disagree with the officer's conclusion that the proposal wouldn't cause visual harm, because there's no other road markings on or painted words or double yellow lines on any of the other paved sections of that development as a whole. So I was quite surprised at that conclusion. I really welcome the officer's suggested condition around an access management plan, although I wonder if it could be strengthened, because that has been tried in the past with fences, and there's been lots of aggression towards the people who are putting it up, and it just hasn't worked. As you can see, it's not working at the moment. Couple of questions that I would ask the committee to think about. Has an equality assessment been done about the position of the bollards? Because I'm a bit worried about access to some of the community buildings and on the position of the bollards that's shown on the plan at the moment. Could a condition be applied so that the builds could be phased? So is there a way of conditioning through planning to put the bollards at the end and then pause on the other? Can you approve half a plan? I don't know if that is possible, or is there anything else that you could do to strengthen our case for that to happen, and for the developer to work with the community to just make that space work as a whole? And I would also support the hour extension as well. We're both very happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, councillors. I'll ask the committee if there are any questions or clarification for you. Councillor Barron.
Hi, Beth. I mean, the previous councillor suggested a particular time zone when it might be closed. I mean, what's your proposal?
Well, it was me quite a long time ago. This has been going on for 2 years, these discussions with the developers. It's been quite frustrating. One of the reasons that I called this planning application in is because I was hoping that they would make some more amendments so that we would be at the planning committee today with something that the parish council, ward councillors and the community were happy with, as well as the developers. So it's a bit frustrating that we've got to this point, quite frankly. But after about 18 months of not having any contact, we set up a petition for 24/7 and we got, I think it was like 260 signatures on that. I mean, that would be my dream. I do know that there's some people in the community that would like it open sort of at night at quiet periods. So I think the crucial thing is that's the school run and the kind of, after school clubs in the community centre, that kind of thing. So 7 till 7 or 6 till 8 has been mentioned. That would be an improvement on what we've got now for sure.
Thank you. Any further questions for councillors? I can't see any, so I'll say thank you very much for your time this evening, and we will now turn to questions for our officers. And actually, I will start because I'd like to relay to some extent the two questions proposed by Councillor at the end. So the first is to do with the qualities assessment. So what assurances are there that there's space enough between the buggies for those who maybe have mobility, mobility issues? And the second is about whether it is possible to suggest a phased build scheme on this, such that we would start with the bollards, the north and south, and then consider the next in another phase. So those are the two questions, as I understood it, Councillor.
Yeah, so the gap between the bollards is at least I think around 1.3 to 1.4 metres. And based on some research that I did, that was stated that was wide enough that people with prams in wheelchairs, etc. Because there was also a comment about a resident questioned about different types of bicycles, and that was wide enough for different types of bicycles as well. But in terms of obviously this isn't a public highway, so the kind of there was reference made to LTN standards, but that doesn't apply because this is a private road. But yes, so essentially, in my opinion, that none of these bollards will present a hazard or obstruction to anyone using Churchway. And then this isn't a phased development. So we, on the basis of what has been proposed, we'd be approving all of it at once. So it wouldn't be a phased development. I don't know, and obviously you can do split decisions, etc. And that I have seen conditions in the past regarding where you can condition that only certain elements are actually approved. But it is, I think it's a bit, in terms of the 6 tests from the MPPF, it's not the best practice. Essentially, it would be much better that an amended plan deleted the elements that aren't, that we're not in favour of, rather than, because we would have on one hand we would have an approved plans condition, and then we'd have a subsequent condition essentially saying, oh, part of that isn't actually an approved part of the approved development. So it's something that I wouldn't necessarily.
So just to clarify, so it's clear in my mind that what a phased approach this would amount to is sort of a redesign of the scheme. I mean, is that
yeah? So I think
so. So I just want to be clear. So it would be a sort of redesign of the scheme such that we would need a new design to come before us.
So potentially this plan could have an annotation on it which would say phase 1, bollards either side, phase 2, internal works. And then you could maybe look to condition that, but on the basis of what's submitted, I would be wary of recommending that.
Okay, thank you. Right, further questions, Councillor Baxter.
I'm not convinced of the need for these fixed bollards along the pavements. Could we just omit them from the plan?
Like I said, I think I would be a bit wary about trying to do that through conditions, but also obviously there would have to be a material planning reason as to why were we seeking to get rid of them, and I think obviously the justification is that I think obviously we want to avoid cars, because cars will be allowed to use this road during between 4 and 10, and this allows that even when the road is in use, that pedestrians etc. have a bit more protection from the kind of the way it's used at the moment. So there is some justification for it, and I suppose it also, in terms of when the bollards are being used, that if cars are parked on the road, there's a risk that obviously the cars are within the road when they want to put the bollards up, which could cause an issue. So I think there is a justification for trying to, as hard as possible, to stop cars parking within the site, and the bollards contribute to doing that.
That's a James. Do you want to? Sorry, but it might be the same question though. So forgive me.
Yes, I wanted to ask about the hours. So it seems like the current system uses that 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I mean, it does seem to me absolutely insane that it is restricted pedestrians when it's actually right near a school and there's an access point in school and nursery and things like that, and yet it's not restricted at the time when everyone's going to school. I don't understand how that works in planning. It's even a planning matter.
Well, I suppose it technically is, but the issue is that we can only determine the application in front of us, and that the closure and the management, etc., was all approved under the original permission and the subsequent discharge conditions. So we don't have the power within this application to change the hours.
Right.
It would have to be an amendment to the original permission, and it would obviously have to be proposed by the developer themselves. It's not something we can insist on because we have approved it. So they're not in breach of any condition.
Yeah, no, I thought that might be the case.
So
but it's good to clarify.
for us to say we can't do it within this application, and I completely see why people would want it, but it's not something we can require with this application, and it would really have to come from the developer. And then, like I say in the report, there is then issues about delivery to in terms of servicing of the units, etc. But yeah, essentially we can't do anything about it within this application.
So just in the interest of clarity then, so we have two choices, neither of which are very good. So one is, sounds like there's an urgent need for these retracting bollards to kind of ring fence the space and allow it to be used as a community space as it was intended in the original development plan, which I have read, and the very clear this was a shared space effectively. But if we accept this proposal, then we also, the developer then, if they can't reach agreement with the parish council and the councillors, there's a danger that the retracting bollards go in and also they get yellow lines and street bollards, which they don't want.
Yeah.
That's one option. And our second option is to reject this application, which then pushes back.
Yeah, so
quite a long period of time. It's slightly bad options there.
Yeah, it's slightly complicated by the fact that they're not currently in breach of their condition. So this isn't say like this hasn't come from an enforcement investigation seeking to resolve an issue. So if we refused it, obviously then the developer may not do anything. So
that's why it's a bad option.
But equally, if you were to approve it, because it's up to the developer, they can only deliver parts of it, but that would be, again, it's up to them. And like I say, I think I'd be wary of trying to require that through.
Oh, I wasn't suggesting that. What the option.
But the option is open to them with agreement of the parish council that they only implement part of the permission essentially.
Pity the developer's not here. And on my second question, again for clarity, if if ANPR was fitted or is fitted?
It is present currently.
So why does enforcement work? Like just as
So essentially, yes, the ANPR is there. It is open to the smart parking limited, what they're called, to issue these tickets, and therefore the condition is being complied with. I think the issue is it essentially becomes a civil matter for them to actually issue these tickets, and I think that we've got limited ability to force them, particularly when obviously it's like this illegal process. We can't, as the planning authority, make them do it.
I understand. Thank you for that clarity. He's just trying
to. Councillor Barrett.
Can I ask about management of this? So, I mean, who's going to be doing the managing, switching them on and switching them off?
So, yes, we've got a condition requiring details of exactly that. Because yes, if there's no one responsible for it, we'd have no certainty about them actually being used as suggested.
Yeah.
And we would only approve the details submitted if we were satisfied that was an appropriate means of managing it.
I mean, I was thinking also during the daytime, if there's an emergency and they're up and they need to be put down, something.
Yeah. So part of that should include, these scenarios. There must be someone there that can put them down.
What does that mean? There's definitely somebody there.
So that there will be someone responsible for the operation of these bollards. We'll approve that, and within that, they will detail how these kind of matters would be dealt with.
I have a couple more questions. So I guess my first one is about the ANPR, right? So with this, I mean, this is a scheme that's been put in place because the ANPR is not working, basically. Once the scheme is in place, though, what happens to the ANPR? So is the ANPR still going to be? Is it still required under the previous condition? Because I mean, let's be real. There are motorcyclists, there are scooters, right? They can get through the bollards. So is the ANPR still going to be there in order to, in theory, act as a deterrent for motorcyclists and scooters, and for actors? Yeah.
Yes. So because the ANPR is not solely for this restriction, it also is used between 4 and 10. If someone comes in through Church from Westway, enters the car park and overstays the free, so the ANPR is multifunctional, so it will remain, but it will also remain capable of enforcing these specific restrictions. But yes, the cameras will certainly stay there.
Thank you. Any further questions? In which case, I would suggest we thank our officers and move into debate. So, can I have a motion on this application? Councillor Barrett.
I'd really like to propose that we refuse it. I think, really. I mean, I hear what Emily and Councillor were saying that, and that, with occasion, I mean, I'm only a sub on this, and I play it very rarely on the committee, but I know there've been a couple of occasions where we get a proposal come through. We think, well, how did we end up in this situation? How did it get through in the first place? And that's what I feel about this. And I think that, there really is quite a high risk during the school hours. And I think that the hours need to be extended. If we can't extend that in the existing proposal, I think we need to reject it.
Okay, I'll see if I've got a seconder on that, and then we'll clarify the material reason behind it. So is there a seconder on to refuse this application? Right, I need a seconder, or I'm afraid I'm going to have to call for another motion, in which case, but we will enter debate and we can explore these items there. Is there an alternative motion? As
So I actually think we should approve this, and my reasoning is that it's, as somebody who uses the Missing Bean Cafe occasionally here, there's a need to present a physical barrier to cars going through at quite high speed through Church Lane. So I would propose acceptance on the grounds there's an urgent need for it. And I think that the problem is, if we reject this, then who can tell whether the developer will ever come back with a proposal to provide these retractable bollards. But I would urge the parish council, and unfortunately the developer's not here, but I would urge the parish council and developer to work together to remove the double yellow lines and the pavement base bollards. To Councillor Barrow's point about the opening hours of the road, that's not an issue for this planning meeting. However, that's something else that they should be discussing as well.
Understood. Just before I call for a second, though, can I please just remind members in the gallery that there should be no raised hands, there should be no commenting in the chat, and there should be no trying to speak out in the meeting. So thank you very much. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Rain.
I agree entirely. I don't think it's ideal. Looking at it would be an ideal scenario to do it in a staged way, but I think refusing it is, it's not guaranteeing anything. I would just hope that the parish council and the representatives will be able to have some kind of sensible discussion with the developers for a positive outcome. But I do think, materially it's there, and I think we need to pass it.
Okay, so I'll open up the floor to debate. Does anyone want to say anything further on this?
Yes, I'm just concerned that the parish council plus the two councillors there really wanted the hours to be extended.
And to be honest, I think there's part of me that feels incredibly sympathetic to that, right? I think if we could, I think we would all like to extend the hours, but I don't think we can't within the confines of this application because there is a wider application. Similarly, but that said, I do think there are grounds to refuse this. I think we could make grounds based on design and characters. So I think there are grounds. I will be supporting this application because I think in the end it comes down to it is better to have something in place with those bollards, which seem to be urgently needed, than not have anything in place. However, I would hope the developer might have heard some of the things we've said about engagement with the local parish, potentially even about thinking about a phased scheme here, because I confess, I'm not particularly keen on lots of bollards on the pavements or double yellow lines. Again, there's going to be a management plan, and again, I would hope that they would enforce the AMPR for scooters and cyclists, but those are things that maybe I would hope might get heard, but ultimately I think it's better to approve this than to refuse it on design and character grounds, because so that's where I am, so I'll be supporting this. Anything further on this application? In which case I'm going to call for a vote on this application, so all those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? That is 7 to 1, and the application is approved. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to our final item this evening, which is appeals information for us to consider and note the appeals information report. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for looking. So, agenda item 9, appeals information to receive, and the appeals information report. And planning to consider and note the appeals information report. We've got the information in front of us. Can I say that is so noted?
Yes.
So noted. Okay, so with that, I can say that we've now reached the end of our meeting. So it just leaves me to thank all of our speakers this evening, all of our officers for all the work they put into these applications, and indeed all of the new councillors for the debate and attending the meeting. And with that, I ask Susie, could you please stop the live stream? Thank you so much.